Welcome back to another episode of the Wet Dreams Podcast. I'm your host, Jose Gonzalez. I'm a mental health counselor and a sex therapist.
I'm Dr. Brad Hinman. I'm also a mental health therapist and a sex therapist and a marriage and family therapist.
Sweet. Today we're talking about intimacy. Why do you think people beg for closeness, yet sometimes they disappear when it finally gets too close? I think a lot of people can relate to that in all contexts, males, females, in your relationship, in a marriage, out of a marriage, whatever. There's this idea of that push and pull, why we get close and then we pull away. So that's today's topic. And of course, we're going to end up focusing a lot on our guys. But I think it applies to everyone. Have you seen that? Have you seen this push-pull thing in clients you see, in couples, individuals, all that stuff? Do you see that relationship, that dynamic?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All the time.
Mm-hmm.
I see, I feel like it's the pursuit, right? Like people generally want to be in a relationship. They want to have a significant other. They want to have somebody to hook up with.
Mm-hmm.
And so that pursuit of that, trying to get the person to agree to do that, it definitely releases a lot of really feel-good chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm answering why, and you didn't ask why.
Right. I mean, I'm going to ask why. It's
yes
going to get
no
there
question.
somewhere. We always jump ahead. There's no rhyme or reason. We have our outline, but then we just cut it.
So I feel like the pursuit of somebody to talk to you or to hook up with you releases a bunch of chemicals in your brain that your brain likes. But then when you get that person to do those things, men are very efficient. I always tell my clients, if you turn the word efficient over, it says lazy on the back. So once they get somebody to talk to them, then they stop trying as hard, right? It's kind of like when you're dating somebody, right? And you're like all, fart in front of them, and, right? And
Right.
You take a shower and wear deodorant,
Yeah.
and then you're married, and then all that stuff goes out the
Then
window.
I didn't need this deodorant after all.
Right? Because you already got them, so why do you try to impress them now, right? So, I think it's some of that. So complacency, I guess, is a way to summarize that.
Yep.
But also, probably the deeper, more insidious issue is fear of vulnerability, right? Because once I get this person to fall in love with me, and then, oh crap, they can use my weaknesses against me. And so let me guard against these weaknesses.
Before they hurt me, I'm going to just back off. Yep. Yeah. So we're going to talk about all those things. We're going to talk about this idea of the pursuit. We're going to talk about vulnerability, attachment patterns. That's definitely probably an overused type of term, attachments, but it comes into play. And then we're going to talk about self-sabotage, and then how do we change that cycle or whatever. We're going to hit on all those points. But going with that, what you're talking about, why do you think people are so, and especially our guys, in a relationship or not, but why do you think people are so attracted to that pursuit, that kind of initial limerence, or I forget the term, that initial pursuit in relationships? What's so good about that? What's so attractive about that?
To me, it's all about the chemicals in your brain. Like a lot of, I feel, human behavior is driven by the chemicals. So basically what I'm saying is we're all drug addicts.
Yeah.
We just carry the pharmacy around in the back of our brain.
Right.
And so, but to answer your question, because when we're pursuing somebody, to getting them to talk to us, getting them to fall in love with us, we get a lot of really good chemicals, dopamine being one of them. And our brain likes dopamine. It's what makes you feel euphoric when you see puppies and kittens and bunnies and fluffy things. Right? But except for we get a massive dose of it when we get people to fall in love with us or talk to us or whatever. So I think that's what you're pursuing.
Yep. And I think it's also the uncertainty of and I've seen this, we've had another episode about fantasies and stuff like that, but I think it comes into play. I've seen this in some of the guys I see, it's this idea of not knowing, or this idea of the fantasy that you have in your head can look however you want it to look before that person either confirms it or denies it. Probably more often than not, denies it, because the fantasy you have in your head is way bigger and crazier and cooler than what's actually typically happens. So I think there's that level, something about that uncertainty, where you can fill in the gaps of what this person is, what would life be like with them, what would sex be like with them. You can fill in these gaps without really knowing, so that it can look kind of however you want it to look. So then I think then when it becomes more real or more, salient or whatever, then it's like, wait a minute, like that wasn't exactly what I was picturing before in my brain by myself,
Right.
I think that's a big part too. So that uncertainty is exciting, of like, I can fill in whatever I want it to look like,
And porn, unfortunately, has, or fortunately, has an impact on that, right? Because what people view in porn creates an unrealistic image in our heads, right? It feeds into that image. In other words, what I'm saying is, like, when you go to the gym to work out, and then there's a cute woman there, and then you're all of a sudden having sex in your car, right? Because that's what porn shows. Because she's gonna love the way I lift weights, and so that's what porn tells us, is that that the fantasy that we have in our brain gets played out. And so what porn doesn't show is the work that it takes to maintain a relationship, and to make people happy when you're talking to them every day. And so there's the fantasy that we create in our head of the possible scenarios never includes the work that it takes. But also, so the porn thing, but then there's another thing, is that we do get competitive almost with ourselves, right? Like, I'm going to talk to this woman and see if I can get her number or whatever. And sometimes it doesn't work out, but then I'm going to try again the next time, or I'm going to tweak what I say, or my pickup line or whatever, and to see what works. So we almost it's almost a competition to see if we can get somebody to talk to us.
Right. And I think the thing that comes to mind too is the societal expectations of all of that. Like, on the one hand, the fantasy piece of, like, and I think porn is one, but I also think other media, for like more geared towards women, for example, can portray these interactions in a certain way that's like, you want it to be like hot and heavy, or you want it to be like this person wines and dines you. Not saying they shouldn't, but sometimes it's over the top, unrealistic. So you have this idea of like what it's supposed to look like without seeing what it takes to look like that, and or maybe that's not what it looks like. So there's that piece of it, but I also think too, with the pursuing thing, with this idea of like being smooth, like there's this societal impact or societal idea of guys needing to be smooth and needing to be able to pick up girls and have a good, and talk to them good and get numbers and all this stuff. I think that's also another societal pressure that's there, but how much does society pressure you to have a stable relationship and be vulnerable and like, have healthy intimacy? Like that's not as sexy to portray that or to push that, in society and in media, I think.
Relationships are a lot of work, right? And so often being in a relationship with somebody day after day is harder than getting somebody to talk to you, right? So it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I think that might be why sometimes people pull away.
Yeah. So what does it require then? We have that initial interest that happens, but what does intimacy require? What's needed to have true intimacy in a relationship once you've passed that initial limerence or limers? I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. I feel like I'm saying limericks. Right. Okay.
Limerence.
Isn't limerick like poetry, but there's like limerence. Anyways, intrusive thoughts. One. What does it take to have true intimacy? What's required?
to me,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, so vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
and communication,
Mm-hmm.
I think, are the two key components to have an intimate relationship with somebody. And every time I use the word intimacy or intimate, I always feel like I have to explain to people, we're not just talking about sex.
Right.
Sex is one example of intimacy,
Yes.
but it's not all
Not
of
the
intimacy.
only one. Yes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's not the only one. So the broader intimacy thing, not just sex. Because if we're talking about sex, we're just going to say sex.
Right. Right. Yeah, for sure. We don't mince words here.
Because we don't shy away from those words. So intimacy meaning like this close feeling of connection that you have with somebody, where you can talk about your secrets to, or share ideals and hopes and dreams and all those kinds of things. I think it takes vulnerability, which some guys don't like, and it takes communication, which some guys don't like.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Right. And so I feel like the reason that some guys don't communicate a lot is because often women, if we're talking about heterosexual relationships, want them to talk about their emotions. Guys suck at talking about their emotions, so they don't want to talk about anything for fear that an emotion might come up. Right.
Yeah.
Men will avoid talking about feelings.
Definitely. Yeah. So what do you think transitions that initial, I mean, that maybe it's the same answer, but what do you think helps to transition that initial kind of attraction phase to then a later, more intimate phase? I mean, vulnerability and communication, I suppose, is the same answer there, but are there other things that help that along, would you say?
Time, like the quantity and quality of the time that you spend together. I think also going through some stuff, right? Like,
right.
Yeah. So like if something, it doesn't necessarily have to be
Yes.
bad.
Yep.
But if
conflict.
Yeah. If something happens, you can bond over that event, you know?
Yeah. And it's funny, like, sorry to interrupt, this idea of conflict, like, I found sometimes that there's couples that it's like, oh, we don't fight about anything, you know, they're in to my office for a reason, you know, so it's not that it's perfect, but then they're like, oh, we don't really fight about anything, you know, and a lot of people put that as like a good thing, not to say you should fight all the time, but a lot of people are like, yeah, we don't fight about anything, that's good. And I'm like, probably not, because you're not actually talking about anything of substance, at least to be able to fight. So maybe that's not necessarily the best part, you know. So it's interesting.
It's not. I've had people say that to me too, that they're almost proud of the fact that they don't fight. And very few things scare me in the therapy room, but that's scary to me, because like if you tell me that you don't
of
fight,
all the things, that's the scary one.
I've had all kinds of shit go down in front of me. People screaming at each other,
walking out,
snap their glasses in half and walk out of the room. That doesn't scare me. If you've
had big guys that are big clients, I know you've had like a couple of those guys.
That doesn't scare me.
Yeah.
But if you say I never fight with my partner, that scares me, because like, are you just gonna wake up and kill this person in the middle of the night? Like,
like something's gonna just snap.
Yeah, what's going on? Where's your emotions going?
Yeah,
you know, like you're not verbalizing that. So that is not a good thing. If you so no, like you said, do I want you fighting all the time, every day, all day long? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that any two people in any kind of relationship, it could be parent and child, it could be husband and wife, it could be boyfriend and girlfriend, or boyfriend and boyfriend, or whatever we're talking about, or even work colleagues. There's going to be conflict, and you need to be able to verbalize that. Preferably to me in a respectful way that both of you feel heard and communicated with. That's the way people should fight. But not never saying anything. That is that's scary.
Right.
Because to me, you should learn how to navigate that and be able to come out on the other side,
Mhm.
and then having makeup sex.
Right.
So,
Right. Yep.
but
And that's when you have, maybe obviously maybe not the extreme of like killing somebody, but that's where you have then those couples that are like have been married 30 years, 30 years down the line, it just blows up and it's like this thing that was there this whole time. They just never talked about it. And then finally one of them or both of them were kind of like, well, but that's it or something. You know what I mean? Like this like thing that's built because nobody's willing to talk about it and be vulnerable about it, and just blows up their relationship at the end. Because eventually,
if you're proud of the fact that you never fight with your partner, and then when you do have a fight, and it's probably going to be a huge one because you don't fight,
and it's built up with all the things,
right? All that pressure, and then when it explodes, you're going to be like, well, now we have to get a divorce because we fought.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Not really how that works, but okay.
Definitely. Yeah. So like I think that fairly people worry about those kind of dynamics or about, and one example that comes to mind is repeating patterns that they saw when they were younger in their in their parents' relationship or family relationship. If I get too close to someone, then it's just going to be like that again, or I'm going to get divorced. Like, because nobody in my family has stayed in a relationship. Like, there's legitimate fears behind this idea of like, once you get close to intimacy, then you're like, oh, I'm out, peace. There's legitimate fears, but also like you not being in a relationship is not doing any good to that dynamic either. If you're just going to avoid it, or if you're going to just avoid intimacy and not get close to people, you're definitely not going to end up having a good relationship because you're not doing it and not trying. Right. You know what I mean?
Yep. And there are some people who choose that, like after they've been hurt, they'll be like, I'm never going to get another. Often they say I'm never going to get married again.
Right.
But I even have had some people say I'm not going to be in a relationship again because I got hurt too badly. That although I understand why they're doing that, that doesn't make sense to me because well, I feel like we are creatures who want intimacy in our lives. Most of us are. And so to deny yourself that because of the possibility that you could get hurt, it's like, I'm never going to leave the house because I might fall down. Like it's silly.
Right. Yeah.
Although, like I said, I get it, but I kind of don't get it at the same time. Right?
Yeah.
I guess when I say I don't get it, it's that what I'm saying is that I would not take that risk, or I would take the risk of being in a relationship, even though being hurt is a possibility. So that's what I'm saying is that I would not choose to not ever be in another relationship. So that's when I say it doesn't make sense. That's what I'm meaning.
Yes.
But then there's other people who, I've had other clients where they just hook up with everybody, right? So, but there's no intimacy there. Right? Yep. There's sex, but no intimacy, no emotional connection. And actually, if an emotional connection starts to happen, they'll cut it off.
They're like, nope, too much,
and walk away.
Yeah, definitely.
And they're just trying to protect themselves.
Yes. Well, and I mean that goes perfectly to our next part of it is like the attachment style, and like I think it varies very much what the type of person that they are. The example that came to mind random was my son. He's 10 now. I don't know, it was like 3 years ago. They had like a Halloween party, and he had one of those lemon drops or something. One of those lemon, and apparently he it got stuck in his throat or something, and like the teacher was doing the Heimlich or something crazy. Like of course they call me and they're like, just want to let you know your son is fine, and that's how you know at the beginning that this is not a good this is not a good call. Okay, tell me already. Anyways, he was fine, obviously, but now he'll never touch a lemon. And anytime we're in the grocery store, we're like, oh, go get some candy or whatever, and he's like, I'm not getting that one because
you walk around.
it's like, puts up the thing.
Yeah.
And it's just funny. It's a silly example, but that's like he's like an avoidant style of thing. Like that happened the one time, and that's never gonna do it again. Whereas my daughter, it has to happen like 12 times before she's like, I guess I'll not do something. You know what I mean? Like, it's like so it's interesting. Like I think that all comes in these like your attachment styles. So let's talk a little bit about attachment styles. What are some of the formal whatever? What are some of the attachments? Avoidant is definitely one. Like you tend to avoid, and in relationships too, you tend to avoid that intimacy based on past experiences or your personality or whatever. What?
Yeah. So avoidant is I'm just not gonna have that risk. I'm not gonna be subjected to that bad experience again.
Yeah.
There's like a fearful avoidant, right? That I'm afraid perhaps I'll still get in a relationship, but I'm going to be afraid the whole time that
right.
you're going to hurt
me. yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Where the avoidant will just not do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But then there's another similar style where I'm going to do it, but so in other words, like, where were you? You're 5 minutes late coming home from work. Where were you? You're having an affair, aren't you? Nobody can have an affair in 5 minutes.
Right.
but that's the fear, right? The fear you're going to reject me. You're going to hurt me. You're going to cheat on me. You're going to whatever, right? It's or take all my money or whatever it is, right?
The fear.
And so you're just basically operating from a fear standpoint, right? And so, in both the avoidance style and the fearful avoidance style makes it difficult for people to be in a relationship with you, because it's hard to be in a relationship with somebody who always thinks like accusing you of something,
right? For sure. And some people would just be like, well, I'm gonna do it. I might as well get my money's worth and do it. I've heard that often. Like, well, they're accusing me. I'm not actually doing it, but might as well. Or they'll leave. I mean, it depends. But I've certainly heard that a lot
too. Like, you keep accusing me of this, so I might as well do it because I'm guilty without doing it. Right. So I might as well do it and still be guilty.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Again,
not
a choice I would probably make, but okay.
No, we're not endorsing these things. Right. We're just pointing them out.
Right,
that's exactly. Crazy. Yeah.
So secure attachment is, I guess, the ideal. If I don't like to think of things in terms of that, but
I get you.
That's when you read a book, that's the one that the author is going to tout as the most beneficial one. So in other words, the person is comfortable. These are people who actually trust their partner. That's part of secure attachment. Is, oh, your partner's been gone for 4 hours. Do you know? No, I don't know where they are. Are you worried? No, I'm not worried.
Okay, I trust them. Yeah.
We also call those people naive.
Okay.
But there are people who are secure in their attachment. Like, I love this person. I trust this person, that they have my best interest in mind and their own best interest in mind, and everything's fine.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it makes me think of one example that comes to mind is like people that are in open relationships. Like they have to have pretty high level of security, I would say, in that attachment, like where you're the primary. If you set it up that way, you're the primary partner, and they're able to have other relationships, but be secure enough to be like, well, they'll be back, or this is our, that's one. Obviously, it doesn't have to be to that level, but that's just an example that comes to mind. That would be tough.
Yeah, you're right. Insecure, the open relationship thing, I always feel like I have to explain that to people too, because there seems to be more talk recently. I don't know if you've run into this, but I'm having more clients who are doing what I would call cheating. And then they announce all of a sudden, now we're in an open relationship.
Yes, I've had a couple. Yeah.
And I'm like,
wait a minute.
That's not an open relationship. You're cheating. And now you want permission to cheat.
Yeah. That's different. And probably people that do it correctly, quote unquote, do it right, wouldn't like that. Like people in open relationships that do it legitimately would see that and be like, I don't know if I love that part of it. You know what I
Well,
mean? It's like,
if it's a legitimately open relationship, you talk about it being
right.
open before you quote unquote cheat, right?
Mhm.
You don't get caught cheating and then be like, well, now we're in an open
Right.
relationship. It's like,
Yeah.
sorry for laughing, because this happens, right?
Mhm.
So a true open
Yes.
relationship is like you have a contract. Because I've helped people negotiate contracts before, where and for an example of what would be in a contract is it okay for me to sleep with people that you know? Because sometimes they're like, no, I can't know the person at all. Other times it's, yes, I have to. You cannot
have to
sleep
know.
with anybody
Yes,
that I don't know
yes.
already.
Right. Or at least have to meet them and
Yeah.
engage somehow
And like
with
vet them
Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
But that's an example of what would be in a contract. So we are not, when we say open relationships, we're talking about the healthy kind,
Right.
not the kind where you got caught cheating
Right.
and all of a sudden you're in an open relationship and your partner doesn't like it.
Right.
And you don't want them to be in an open relationship.
Right. Oh my God.
I can sleep
Right,
with
a
whoever
one-way.
I want,
Uh-huh.
but you have to be monogamous. That's not an open
No,
relationship.
nope, not at all.
That's not what we're talking about. I just wanted to be clear.
Yes. Where it wasn't like or it wasn't forced of like, okay, now this is, I mean, that's basically what it is. It's one way person making the decision, basically.
Yeah.
So, what about there was another one, what's anxious attachment? Yeah. How is that different than?
In my concept
fearful.
of the terms anxious attachment is we are in a relationship, but for example, like if we get in an argument, then I think we're going to break up. Or so in other words, I'm comfortable with this attachment that we have. And I might even be secure at times.
Yes. Right.
But then it gets very anxious if something happens.
Right. And maybe you're not monitoring 24/7, having a tracker on your partner, but the minute it's like, is everything okay? Are we okay? Is everything all right? Are we good?
Yes.
Like,
that's
you still love me, right?
Yes.
Are you still love me?
Yep.
Like that.
That's anxious attachment.
Yeah.
So you're attached and you're happy, and it's not necessarily like you're jealous and accusing the person all the time. So it's the anxious is more me. Like you need to reassure me.
Right. Yeah.
And where the other one is, you're cheating on me, right? You're the problem.
Right.
The anxious is I'm upset that I'm going to lose this thing that I have going on because of something that's, you looked at me funny when I asked you to take out the garbage. That we're going to get divorced, right?
What's going on? Yeah, exactly. Right. So yeah. Again, I mean, I think this is important for people to know and to like delve into, because there's tons of factors that can influence someone's attachment style. Like, again, like we said, like maybe their past relationships or past relationships that they saw in their family growing up, their personality, their life experiences, their, how their relationship with their parents between them were, even outside of romantic relationships. Like, there's a lot of factors that come into play, that need to be, most people would benefit from delving into that for sure.
Yeah. It's very much past relationships that I've had as an individual, but also my family of origin, right? Like it's, my wife and I have been married for 39 years because we're old. And so, but before we got married, we were dating for 3 years before we got married. Both of us have brothers who've been married 3 times. And my parents were divorced before they married each other. Kind of a Brady Bunch thing.
Yeah.
But I'm the product of their current marriage. And so I remember talking to my wife about, hey, if we do this marriage thing, it's forever. We're not getting divorced. So
right.
like you
Strap
need to be
in.
really, really sure before you marry me. And that was a product of what I saw growing up, right? Because I'm the youngest, so I saw my brother. I was at his marriages, his weddings, and then saw them all dissolve, right? And so I'm like, how when are you gonna like figure this out?
Right.
You practiced
Maybe
it a lot.
Make some changes. that Donna's an hours thing. He's an expert,
Right. And so, but that's just an example of relationships that I saw. And I'm like, I saw the agony that they went through with every divorce. And even with my parents' divorce, I'm a product of their current marriage, but I saw them interacting with both the children of their first marriage and their ex, right? And neither one of my parents got along with their exes.
Right.
And so it's just not something that I wanted to replicate. So, and so far we've been successful.
Yeah, there we go.
We're still
going
married.
strong. For sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So how do kind of transitioning, I don't know, whatever. How do people know that it's kind of a two-part question. How do they know that they're doing this like push and pull thing and like there and not there, you know? And then also, how do they know whether that's legitimate of like, okay, this person maybe isn't compatible or not like there, versus their experience or their attachment or their like other things coming into play of like, oh, this is probably gonna happen with everyone and not just this person. You know what I mean? Like what would you say?
I have dealt with this with my clients. It's difficult. What I ask them to do is difficult, is what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
But I'll often say to them, is what you're experiencing now, is it due to this situation or is it because of something else that you're bringing forward into the situation?
Right.
So then I usually talk to them about emotional memory. Like this feels like that. And so your brain lumps them together, right? So you yelled at me. And so I felt like I did when I was 7 and my dad would yell at my mom or my dad would yell at me.
Yep.
Right. And so that feels like this. And so your brain puts them together that it's the same thing, but it's not the same thing. Right. And so asking people to tease those apart and be like, how much of this is like yelling trauma or how much is it that I don't like that you called me stupid when we got in an argument right now today?
Right.
Because those are different.
Yep.
Right. They can feel similar. And like I said, our brain lumps them together.
Yep.
And so just asking yourself, a lot of my answers to that question, the last one that you asked, involves taking a pause before you speak. That's how you realize whether it belongs in this current situation or I'm reacting to something before. Because emotional memory is real and it's powerful.
And it doesn't take much, because I've had a fair amount of clients that's like the yelling one, like, you know, at least I'll observe in session of like maybe the voice is raising and it's like, okay, is this how you normally speak? And it is, you know, but it can be a trigger I've had a fair amount of people say like, yeah, he was yelling, quote unquote, but they were just raising their voice, you know what I mean? And it like immediately triggered the yelling, even though it wasn't volume wise, wasn't that high necessarily, at least from my observe. Obviously it's always possible that it's chaos at home, then it's not in the session. So I don't know, but generally like it's not that high, but it's like, you were yelling at me, and people shut down quickly on that. So it's very sensitive. The emotional memory is super sensitive.
Yes.
Sometimes.
And it's funny that you say that, because I grew up in a family of yellers. All of my family, it was very chaotic.
Yeah.
Because there was 9 of us. So there was a lot of yelling.
So much noise.
So when I've had couples recently in my room, you know, my therapy room, and they're like, you know, he's yelling at me or she's yelling at me. And then I'm like, well, give me an example. Well, she's yelling right now.
Right.
And I'm
yes.
I'm thinking, what? There was no volume.
Yeah.
There was not even really a lot of intensity with what they were saying. And I'm like, okay, that's yelling for you. Okay, I got it. You know, because it's not me to say, it's not my job to be like, that's not yelling.
Right.
But I have to adjust my concept of what yelling is to what is actually happening for them.
Yes.
Right. And so I'm like, noted. That's yelling.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Well, and I think you can, you know, it's fair to also make that observation of like, oh, interesting. That to me, that didn't seem like or maybe not to me, I would say like what was going on there at that when you perceived that they were yelling, like is that like how'd you feel about that, or like, you know what I mean, like pushing a little bit of like, was that, do you always feel like that when there's that kind of volume with people, or is it just with her, like, or him or whatever, like trying to get underneath of like those triggers, I think would, you know, but yeah, it's not our job to be like, that's not yelling, shut up.
And I've even asked clients, how did you know that he was yelling? Like, because that's I'm signaling with them, I didn't perceive that it was yelling. So what did you see or hear or feel or whatever that made you think it was yelling? And then sometimes they'll be like, that right there, you know, like 5 minutes later in the conversation, there, right there, they was yelling. And what I'm experiencing, there was a tone, right, where maybe I got a little more, not me, but their partner got a little more terse, and then they called that yelling, right? So it's whatever it is to them is what I have to, you know, to help them work through. Yeah, it's not up to me to tell them. But, but
definitely. Yeah, so it can be hard. Definitely, like teasing out the two, whether it's legitimately like, okay, I mean, I need to leave this relationship, or we're not vibing, or if it's just the fear of intimacy is hard. I mean, that's like a big question, but I like that idea of like pausing. I think that's a good strategy. What are some other strategies that people can use to work through this big concept?
Because we both deal primarily with men, right?
Yep.
So I see a lot of men and I see a lot of couples too, but so what I generally, so in that pause, right, which could only be like 2 or 3 seconds, that's fine, but there's a lot going to be going on in that 2 or 3 seconds. So what I ask guys to generally do is say, what is it that I'm feeling, right? Because I'm feeling like you said something, or you looked at me funny, and now I'm feeling some sort of way, right? So what is it that I'm feeling? And a lot of times with guys, it's anger. That's what they'll say as they answer that question. And then I ask them, well, what is it that you're really feeling? You know, because if she looked at you funny, that's not anger. That could be surprise or maybe sadness, right? But it's probably not. I don't think I've ever gotten angry at a look.
Right.
But there's something else there, and then anger is driven to the surface, right? So what is it that I'm really feeling? Is that legitimate for this specific circumstance? Right? Again, so if she looked at me funny, is whatever that I'm feeling an appropriate response for this specific thing?
For her looking at me that way.
Not the 77 times that she's given me that look in my 39 years of marriage. But is this legitimate for today? Right? Or is it just that I'm stressed, or I'm tired, or I'm hungry, or whatever? Right? Probably all three.
Yeah.
Right? So then if it's that I'm tired and hungry, maybe I should give her a break for the look.
Right.
Or maybe she's tired and hungry too, and now we're just both looking at each other.
Right?
Maybe we should just make some food instead of fighting. Right?
Exactly. It's always food. Food always helps.
Right, exactly. Food always makes that. I'm the epitome of the Snickers commercial.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that. Hungry, grab a Snickers.
Right,
for sure.
Because why are we going to put that energy into fighting when we could just put the energy into making food, and then we'd be happy?
Right. Yep.
So what is it? So in that
in the moment, staying
pause,
in the moment.
Yep. So what is it that I'm feeling? Is it legitimate, or is it proportional? That's another good word. Is what I'm feeling proportional to this circumstance, to what happened? Again, not the 77 times we've had this fight, but right now, because couples tend to fight about the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
Like
recurring.
Couples generally have about 5 arguments that they have on repeat for the 70 years that they're married.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Crazy. Just over and over, rinse, repeat.
You should probably be able to solve that problem in 70 years.
Yeah,
Sometimes
for sure.
the problem is solved because the kids grow up, because one thing that couples fight about a lot is kids.
It's kids. Yeah, yeah. Get the kids out.
So you got that for like 20 years and then you're done.
I got 8 years left with my oldest. I think
Yes.
so. No. Yeah, that's a good one. I think the other thing I would add, and the thing I like telling guys, it's not easy, of course, but is like leaning into that vulnerability. I think like practicing vulnerability and getting used to being vulnerable for guys, I think is hard. And I think it's like it's like a muscle you need to work out and need to get better at. And it will help in your relationships, your intimate relationships, but you also need to do it in small ways in other areas. Like, I'm not saying like, talk to your mechanic and be like, hey, like, I'm feeling sad today. Like, I'm not saying spill your guts to everybody, but I'm for sure, I could be certain that probably you're not spilling your guts to many people anyways these days. So even a few people that you're able to be vulnerable, or even being vulnerable in small ways of like, I didn't like how I didn't like feeling that way, or this made me feel this way. I didn't appreciate that, even to the random attendant or whatever. Being vulnerable and getting used to putting yourself out there and being unsure what the response is going to be. I think that's a muscle that needs to be worked out. I feel like that would be helpful, because then you get used to that. Like, okay, I said what was on my mind and nothing bad happened, or something bad did happen, but I still feel like I still said it. Like, okay, that's cool, or whatever, or anywhere in between. You know what I mean?
You still said it and you lived through it.
And it was fine. And you're not dead. Yeah.
I think another way to practice being vulnerable with other people other than your partner, although you should practice that with your partner as well. But I've been telling people lately to practice on your kids, right? Being vulnerable with your kids.
Yeah, it's a good one.
For example, because we talk to guys, right? So even with children, like if they're doing something that we don't like, we get angry with them. And I'm like, try something different. Don't be angry, be sad, right? Like if you told your son to clean his room and then he's gone for 3 hours and comes back and the room's not clean, be sad. Don't be angry. Right? For one, it's going to take your son off guard.
Right. What the heck?
Because he's not expecting it, right? And he'll be like, I don't know how to,
right.
He's not going to say this out loud. But he's going to be like, I don't know how to react to dad being sad, right?
Exactly.
So that's one benefit of that. And another benefit is you really are sad. You're not mad. You're sad because it's almost a form of disrespect. Like if you told him to do that and he said he would and then he didn't, and then now you're hurt, right? That's part of being sad, is hurt, right? And so you should express that, not anger, because as soon as you express anger to somebody, they're going to be defensive, right? Because anger is an attacking emotion, and so I'm going to put up my defenses and I'm going to defend against that. But if you're sad, nobody gets defensive when you're sad.
Oh my God, how dare you? You know what I mean? Like,
sadness in humans, if you're sad, it elicits a response in me that I should help you to not be sad.
Right.
Because sadness makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be uncomfortable.
Sadness out of here. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. So that's going to elicit a helping response, not a defensive response.
Yep.
So,
yep.
anyway,
that's a good one. No, that is definitely. I mean,
hack.
I think that's a good one. Like practicing with your kids. And again, being vulnerable, like you just have to do it. Definitely. So cool. Awesome. Thanks for watching our episode. Hopefully that was helpful, and hopefully all your intimacy problems will be gone after listening to that episode. Feel free to drop us a like or follow our socials at Wet Dreams Podcast with a Z on all major socials, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all that good stuff. But thanks for listening, and we appreciate you.
Thanks for listening.
The Wet Dreams Podcast and any content posted is intended for general information, educational, and entertainment purposes only. We are not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast. It is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional, diagnosis, or treatment. Listeners should not disregard or delay in obtaining a medical advice for any medical or mental health condition they may have, and should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.